once held high office. That's not who he's talking about. He's not saying that people like that, the mediocre children of mediocre parents who go to these schools and make C's, that they shouldn't go to college. We know they should go. They're the masters of the universe. My goodness, it doesn't matter whether they know anything. It doesn't matter if they're good students or not. He's not talking about the rich and mediocre. He's talking about working class folks of all colors, right, who are increasingly trying to get into college in ways that maybe in previous generations they wouldn't have even tried. And he's talking about folks of color. He's talking about the newcomers to the college education scene relative to others. He's talking about the mentality of the slave owner, right? The mentality of which was what? If all these folks learned to read, he's going to pick this cotton. That was the mentality, and it made sense within that system. The system was the problem. We have to figure out, I cannot tell you what to do to change that system. It would be, first of all, supremely arrogant of me to think I have the solutions to it. I don't. And it would be supremely unintelligent of you to trust any outside quote-unquote expert to give you those solutions. If we haven't learned anything from the struggle for human dignity and equality, whether we're talking about racial equity or gender equity or class equity or anything else, one thing that we should have learned, if nothing else, is that solutions to problems come from struggle. They come from community. They don't come from outsiders coming bringing a 10-point, PowerPoint plan. It comes from struggle. It comes from people like Ella Baker deciding to get those folks together that formed SNCC in 1960 at Shaw University in Raleigh and having them sit down and have this conversation. I mean, Ella Baker had been in the movement by then for, 2 decades. Working with the Ministerial Alliance, working with what would become the SCLC, working with these old heads that were, she just got tired of after a while. She just decided they weren't going to solve the problem. So she said, I think young people, 18, 19, 20, 20, she had no reason to think that they knew anything. But she was willing to say, you know what, I'm willing to take a chance on you because you have the energy and the insight and the initiative and maybe some fresh perspective that we don't have. So you go into that church basement for 8 hours. There's no air conditioning. Y'all might want to come up with something, right? It's hot. And folks would sit there, and they came up with the plans to break the back of formal apartheid in Mississippi. That didn't come from the top down. That wasn't Dr. King, it wasn't Ella Baker, it wasn't Medgar Evers, it wasn't the top down. That came from the bottom up. So she got the folks together. She maybe provided a framework. That's what people try to do, that's what leaders try to do, or that's what spokespeople try to do, or that's what writers try to do. That's, you can provide an analytical framework for thinking it through, but then everybody's got to do that work in their own space. That's how we find real solution, is in struggle and in solidarity with one another. That's something which Ann Braden could have taught all of us and did teach some of us. Right? And it's important that we hold her up as an ally and a mentor to an awful lot of folks, particularly in the community, such as she and Carl both. So we have models. Right? We don't have to recreate the wheel in every generation. We just have to understand the way the wheel worked in the last generation, who made it, and how they made it, and which way did it roll, and how might we make it roll faster and maybe a better direction and a more complete direction. But understanding that the problem is that system itself and the indifference that we allow to manifest, which if we allow it to manifest for much longer, is going to take us all down. This is not about us versus them in the end. It may seem like that at times, but in the long run, right, it is really about the sustainability of this culture and this society and even life on the planet as we know it. Now, y'all can ignore it, and we can continue to rock that indifference for another 10 or 15 or 20 years. I guarantee you if we do that, we'll be back in this room, not us, but others in 20 and 30 and 50 years having the same conversation. But the risk at that time of catastrophe will be far greater. The odds of anything remotely approaching democratic success, I mean democratic with a small d, not a big D, will be infinitely more remote. We will be in a world of hurt. So I suggest to you, and I expect from you, that you will be busy in the coming months and years and decades of your lives, however long those lives may last, to ensure that that is not the future, that the future belongs to those of us who believe in freedom and democracy. Thank you all so much for being here.